Welcome back, everyone, to Late Bloomers Podcast. I have a special guest with me here today, Marquis, aka Charm City Bipper. Marquis is a multidisciplinary artist who explores a variety of mediums and prioritizing writing, music, photography, and yoga. Marquis is a Baltimore native and tries his best to reference positivity and healing in our community. And so, Marquis, please introduce yourself.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this. Hi. Grateful to be on this cast. Definitely resonate with late blooming and figuring things out as we go. So thank you again for inviting me, Ria.
Of course, of course. I'm glad that you are here because, like I said, before we started recording, I was telling Marquise that it was so nice meeting him at the Remedy event. It was my first time going to an event like that. I didn't even know we had stuff like that in Baltimore. So it was just nice to see like other artists and, I can't remember every single conversation, but I remember hearing kind of like your background and I was like, that'd be so interesting for other people to hear, especially when we get to like the mental health aspect, because I feel like it's still a taboo topic, which it shouldn't be. And that's irritating me. But we can just start with how are you today?
I'm good. Got a chance to help a family member with some things and been doing stuff. Finished my puzzle last night.
E.
Doing this puzzle is at 300 pieces and just finished it last night. I was really hyped. And just a lot of little things like been working on songs. I'm planning to go to an open mic tonight. So just, maintaining the maintainables.
Yeah. Open mic for poetry or like for singing?
Is singing tonight on the Next Phase Cafe. They do a really dope open mic every Monday night. Live band is present. If you're a musician or even if you're a poet, you can get up there and they can give you a nice little accompaniment, get your vibes off.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, next phase cafe. I'm finding out the things. So I told you I wanted to talk to you about your name, Charm City Bip, because it is very Baltimore coded in the best ways possible. So what helped you come up with that? Because it's just so I love it by the way, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over how'd you come up with the name and what it means to you.
So I've always thought about what we call our city and thought about like my relationship with loving it, loving where I'm from. And growing up, I would hear like Harm City, I would hear Baltimore, Murderland, I would hear like just things that didn't feel good. I understood like The Wire like was a big representation nationally, like nationwide. People had these thoughts about Baltimore. I was blessed to get out of the city a couple of times in my youth. And my pops being in the military, he would have these different moments where he was able to take me and my siblings maybe to a different state or literally out of the country. So I'm like, oh, this is different. I would run into somebody and they like ask us, where y'all from? And I would say Baltimore. And they're like, oh, I can tell you said Baltimore. That's the first one. Like Baltimore in some spaces. It's all these other things than Baltimore. So
Mhm.
we from Baltimore. And then other parts of the accent are present as well. And I always told my students, like I got to teach for a little bit, and that was another catalyst. That was another part of like what made me center it. But I would tell the
Mhm.
students, like, you can't be from nowhere but where you from, and you can't have another mother than the one that brought you onto this planet. So like finding the balance in both of those things. Like, well, my relationship to my mother, like, really meant a lot to me during that era as well. Like, do I know my mother well enough to say I love her?
Mm.
Moments where like we had some tension that made me like angry to the point that I don't want to talk to her no more and all these different things and seeing the problems that came from that, like in other relational dynamics. Like I said, Harm City, Baltimore, Murderland, being in Florida and people assuming I'm from somewhere else because I'm not thinking I might be code switching to the point of like they can't tell where I'm from. And then I'm just testing it one time and I'm like, yeah, I'm from Maryland. Like, oh, Maryland. What part of Maryland? Towson. See, I'm from Towson too. I said, oh, yeah, you ever go to the city? Yeah, I mean, nah, man. They was like, no, I don't go to the city, man. It's dangerous there. It's like, oh,
Oh,
damn. So, like having these early moments from over east,
mhm.
yeah, from over east, it's like It's sectional, but all of it is the same, especially once you start driving. Prior to driving, I'm sitting in people's car going from down the hill to Sedonia to like Chickapin to just these different spaces around the city. And it's all so similar. But when I'm interacting with people in these different zones, they don't always know how similar we are at times. Or cousins and friends wasn't getting out of the neighborhood that had these references I was having. And
Yeah.
they don't know about the random white kid that like is like, "Yo, I'm not from I could never go to the city." They don't have these moments, or they
Mhm.
interact with folks and it be in a professional sense. So it's like they work with them and they, "Oh, Chuck ain't that bad, but Chuck is an asshole." Like I'm hip to
Mhm.
all of it at once. Again, like I was in academia at times, so I
Mhm.
would spaces where folks know Charm City. They know Fells Point. They know what that Hopkins, Charles Village, artsy scene. I'm like, oh shit, there's some resources in my city. There's some hidden gems. There's some museums that have been standing for so long that like people around the nation actually know those spaces more than they know the wire.
Yep.
Some people connect with a side of Baltimore that I was beginning to learn as I started to drive, started to have more conversations, started to, again, gain more references. Also blessed to work for Enoch Pratt Free Library. We're the city that reads. We're the city that like Frederick Douglass and Harry Tubman, like very intentional black individuals love and care for. And like Pennsylvania Avenue has a rich history where you had like Red Fox and Billie Holiday and all of these jazz greats and legends coming through to show some love on the strip and like, you know, all of these beautiful things that just don't get talked about. So I said, I'm gonna take Charm City because I just want somebody, I want to hear a prettier version of it. We are a charming city. And then the Bipper is something that us young guys run around with. Shout out to a brother named Rich Webster, I believe. I might be wrong with his last name, but Rich. He's actually doing a Drewski show right now. And like
Oh, nice.
Simply Snip and all of that, and he has his own dictionary where he came up with these words. Everything is just like so grabbable, and my students understood it, and like my peers, like
Yeah.
when I'm leaving high school in 2014, like 695 bit from over east to over west, a quick bit. You don't really have emotion. Whipping a car, you get the fresh bit. It's like I like that. So I really attached to that, and, like, I want something that everybody can have a piece of, everybody has a part of, so yeah, it's centered in that, and then little things came from it, like, built in private, blessed in public, bit is just consciousness of, like, God is in all of this, so, yeah,
Yeah.
major blessing.
Yeah, thank you. And you were describing parts of the East that look, I'm from PG, so I'm still discovering everything. People be talking to me like, "Oh, you remember such street?" I don't know where to go unless I need to go there. So I'm like,
I wouldn't advise you to go there without
no.
mate, like, it's
Yeah.
that's the fun part, like, because that's been interesting as well, like, the transplant
Mhm.
reality and, like, having people come to the city with the intention of experiencing things, and there's people that come with love, and there's people that are coming to extract and, like, to step on and all of those different things.
Mhm.
I'm not shaming, like, I understand that reality because 'cause Imma go to somebody's city and do the same thing at some point,
Yeah.
but when you step into spaces, it's like just being conscious of that, like that people exist here and that programs existed prior to people showing up. But yes, I think that's what's so hard to explain to outsiders. Like the
Mhm.
very thing you mentioned, like you'll be over east and not realize like over east is his own world. These sections are like Chickapin and Alameda, like Chickapin and Alameda are like the same space.
Mhm.
Alameda exists in a certain way, down the hill exists in a certain way, up the hill is his own little world. Like, you'll be by city and not realize the Alameda by city is not the Alameda close to Northern Parkway. Like
Yes.
these different energies and it's definitely changed. There's a lot that's shifting. I'm grateful for a lot of the programs the mayor's implementing and a lot of things that are present for the youth. When I was, like I said, when I was in high school, this is 2010 to 2014. It's a
Mhm.
lot of rec centers that closed. It was a lot of high schools that closed. And there was a lot of resources that the city just didn't have like they did. Um, Probably in years prior. And it was like really like clear that um it was fight like every man for themselves type of
Mhm.
energy. it's just a blessing again to see a lot of these shifts. And I just like to, as much as I can, give people that consciousness of like, it's part of the reason we don't lean. I won't say we, but I know at some point I didn't lean into certain aspects because of trauma. Like it was a traumatic time. Like it was a lot missing. Like K Swift died
Oh,
early
yeah.
before I entered high school. Lil Scooter got
Oh
murdered
gosh, yeah.
high school, a lot of different things were taking place as far as the gangs and like different drug realities. So the underworld in the city is attached to what's above ground in a major way. And
Yeah.
I think that's the other half. That's what I said. Like over east is its own world. And I understand over west is a whole nother reality.
Yeah, they got it's like Baltimore is its own. I like to d even though it's in Maryland, people that aren't from here, they're just like, "Oh, it's Maryland." Like, no, no, no. Baltimore is like its own kingdom, and
Right.
within this kingdom has, like, 2 different sections. Because I know there's I'm technically in county, there's city, but even the city has its own, like, structure and its own culture, and then, like, within those cultures, there's, like, subcultures. So
Uh,
it's like I don't know, like, gets on my nerves when people, like, bad talk Baltimore because it lets me know that they have not tried to discover the beauty of the city in a way.
And it's like it's funny because we set to our own clock and our own pace. So a lot of people are blessed to not get pulled into it. Cause
Mhm.
like when you really are conscious of how much is going on, it can be scary. But I think a lot of people are so green and comfortable in how green they are. Like, oh, it's like just downtown and they not a lot of others. There's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of programs that are taking place. It's things that have been going on in the city for over like more than a decade that are just
Yes.
starting to pop out to let people know. And a lot of the reason we tuck things away is because of just understanding that people don't have best intentions and the place they do it from is not genuine. If if nothing else, I love my city for the fact that a lot of folks are doing this from a place of having gone through something disgusting, something painful, something that they never want anybody else to go through again. So I have a different level of just grace when it comes to the ways that people may handle business or just the ways people approach life. That again, like you can't get to unless you really get to that understanding. Folks know Baltimore for the harbor and Fells Point, and they might get a little hood experience at a lounge, but it's like they pop out to a lounge, depending on what part of the city you in. At one of these lounges, you might run into somebody that you don't want no dealings with. Please, like, leave them folks alone.
I actually that goes into, like, my next question, which is how the area that you came from, how has it, like, shaped who you are as a person today?
So I mentioned it a little bit, a little bit in the talk, the artist talk. My grandmother was a major influence, and just a lot of my elders, both sides of my family, like my mother's side, my father's side, both had very big families. So from an early age, I was just shown the importance of family and the communal aspect of it. My grandmother having 12 kids, um, and just having so many cousins. Like, my cousins are my brothers and sisters from the start. My mother being a hairstylist, my father being in the military and also in law enforcement in the city, um, gave me just a lot of different perspectives of how things take place. My grandmother didn't work; she raised kids. She cooked. She held the house down. She wiped her marble steps. She swept her gutter, and she babysat any grandchild that came through there. My aunt also lived two houses down. So I had an aunt living two houses down, uh, uncle, my grandfather's brother living two houses up, and then up in the next block, I had another aunt that
Okay.
was living there. So I got four family houses on one block to run in and out of at any point of the day.
Yeah.
Having that experience from like being a toddler to maybe about like 2009. So maybe like 2008, 2009, that would be 4, 12. Like a
Okay.
toddler, like about to get into my preteen years, I have
Adolescence.
yeah, like, I'm having these moments where I'm like, "Oh, this is paradise," in my little mind. Cause
Mhm.
like, my grandmother's block we had block parties on my grandmother's block, like, it was a corner store on both at both ends of the block. So, like,
Mm.
There's a corner store we call Slicks, and there's a corner store that's a Chinese carryout, and
Ooh.
across the street from Slicks is a liquor store. So it's
Mhm.
like I could run a Slicks and get every type of candy, you get every type of ice cream, you got the Freezy Pops, you got the Huggy Juices, you got Capri Suns, Kool-Aid
Mhm.
Jams, whatever you want. Then you get like what was it, hot fries back then, the Funyuns, the Lid. You know what I'm saying? You can get busy in Slicks with just $1. Know,
Yeah.
now we break that to 4 quarters, we got activities going, you might
Yeah.
get the candies, but you don't wanna waste that, treat yourself right. Also, my grandparents being present, like, by the time I'm, about 6 or 7, is me and my cousin Vaughn, and, like, we're running around, and my grandfather would break us off maybe $2, we split the treasures. We go down there
Yeah.
and get it get. He had another cousin, he was a little more selfish. He didn't like the shit at the time. He'd get a Pepsi, dip it, and spit back in it so we couldn't get into it. So it's these things that I learned early on, you know what I'm saying, about this those dynamics. The beauty of having so many aunts and uncles is like they lived in different realities. So
Yeah.
some people are above ground, some people are still underground. And folks
Mhm.
that are underground, they might bring through a whole set of scooters or something. They might bring through back to school clothes. Wait,
Okay.
you don't need to know, but we finna wear them when school
Yeah.
starts. So like it's all of that going on in my grandmother block. My cousins are going to 10th Tillman. I'm living in like what is slightly considered a suburb in some folks' mind, but it's like right on the edge of Parkville by Valentino's. So
Okay.
Valentino's is like a spot if you familiar with over east, like right by Parkville. And I'm living up in that area, and I'm going to a elementary, middle school that's like right around the corner from my house. I can walk to school. Right.
Yeah.
So in my experience throughout my childhood, at grandma's house, I have a level of independence early. At home, I have a level of independence early. Other thing that's taking place is like my father being in the military has him deployed early. So
Mhm.
like I think my father was deployed when I was born type of thing. Like my father's
Mhm.
constantly having to be doing something service related. So I
Mhm.
don't really have consistent access to my father in that way. That makes me have to take on what folks are calling man of the house responsibilities. And then I'm latchkey as well. So my pops being deployed and then my parents divorcing and like having a nasty divorce
Yeah.
add a layer of like, oh, it's me against the world. It's me by myself. And it's to the point like my father comes back into he comes home like completely at some point, and it feels like he's not gonna leave again. I think he still has to go back one more time in this moment. That it feels
Mm.
like yeah, for good, and I don't trust him. Like, I don't trust him to tell him certain things. It's like a walls up that like I'm able to completely recognize now, but I felt in the moment and couldn't put a name to it. It's like he's
Yeah.
telling me things, and I'm like, I learned that before I even felt the need to tell you. Like we talked about what that was in first grade because we public school kids. I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta know where my key is, where my wallet is, 'cause I got a little ID in it. I gotta
Mhm.
know what my lunch code is. My mother got free and reduced lunch. My mother a hairstylist, so the hairstylist beauty industry is like 2 seconds away from just hustler culture. So
Yeah.
beggars come through. My mother might not be perfect on taxes every time. Like, we figuring things out. We got food
Mhm.
when we need to. This is still Baltimore, so it's like my mother's from down the hill with a GED. Blessed for her to be like, I want you to be more. I want you to be intentional in school, but I'm constantly having this clash in school. Although I'm a great student, where something in me just hates the way they see folks from down the hill. And, like,
Yeah.
I know how they see him. And, like,
Mm.
even when you mentioned PG, like, I would have folks that would float in from different spaces or have a
Yeah.
cousin in Perry Hall, and, like, they would say things, I'm like, "Oh, that's my aunt." Like, when I found out welfare queen was, like, a sociological term, when I'm finding out that, like, people are looking at, people who are having substance abuse issues as, like, wretched of the earth, scum of the earth, zombies, like, the things I would see folks and I'm like, I got an uncle who been on drugs for years, but when I learned the deeper implications of what can cause drug abuse, when I learned the
Yeah.
deeper implications of like food deserts and the reality that like if you was always coming up eating hot pickles, onion pickles, pig
Funny.
funyuns, your stomach is set to a tune that you're gonna have to do some detoxing to get
Yeah.
past asparagus and avocado.
Yeah.
People who say they don't like the taste of water. What could get you there?
My grandma on my dad's side is like that.
Type stuff, and then it'd be like a whole family running from that side or running from them realities, and it's I get
Mhm.
the reasoning, but we at a point where them folk if you really tune in, them folk ain't opening no doors for us. They never open doors for us, and they
Yeah.
don't want us in them rooms with them. So
Mhm.
be damned if we gonna look down on anybody with our skin complexion because of how they showing up because they waiting on a check from the government. That's the closest thing we got to reparations. We never got the 40 acres and a mule. So if my auntie gonna be on food stamps for the rest of her life, and still, so I'm like, if auntie gonna be on the stamps for the rest of her life, I ate bologna and cheese off them stamps. I ate
Yeah.
good off the food stamps she was able to provide us with. So, like I said, I'm in this I'm in this different world when
Yeah.
I'm up by Valentino's where I get to be a Boy Scout and I get to be in the reading clubs and I'm like my favorite place is Enoch Pratt Free Library and like I get to work there later on in my like as I become an adult. And my favorite place is just these little after school clubs and just the things I'm witnessing. And I get to be a principal's list student throughout my childhood, but I'm shy and reserved because I know y'all don't like my mother. And I know y'all don't like my auntie who pop out in the bonnet sometimes. Like it's just this thing that's like it don't feel safe. It don't feel
Yeah.
legit. So yeah, that two duality that I was constantly walking with and at times being assumed to be from wealth.
Mm.
Marquis Carrington. I know how to say it well and proper. I know how to present myself in the interview as if I've never seen certain reality. Why would I eat a bologna and cheese? What is bologna? Did you craft singles? Oh my goodness. You all had top ramen? My goodness. I know how to code switch well enough, and it actually did benefit me at different points in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but I resented those spaces and still do. I resent like elitism. I resent people who wear their privilege as if they're the reason they have it, rather than like being born into some certain aspects of society that just allow us to avoid certain pitfalls. Like
Yep.
being over 6 feet helps me. Being a black man versus a black woman helps me.
Mhm.
Having some of the access to education that I had early, like not only did my teachers go above and beyond, my parents were intentional about putting books in my hand early. Like I said, I'm navigating down the hill, I'm navigating what folks is considering hood realities. And then I'm also reading about Malcolm X before I'm 10. I'm learning about Emmett Till before second grade. The
Mhm.
reality, like the depth of Emmett Till's story, like, oh, they chopped his genitals off. I'm looking up what genitals mean. I'm looking up
Yeah.
what castrate means. They did this what, 30 years before I was born? 30, 40 years before I was born?
To a child
To
on
a
top of like, to a child. Yeah.
because he was assumed? Not proven, but he was assumed to have made an advance at a white woman.
Who we later found out lied, which I was like, "Okay, so does she go to jail? Like, what do we do about this?" Yeah, what you said about, like, learning certain things, because I understand what you mean by, like, you're from a certain area and you have all of these complex, lives around you, things going on, but then you're also in the space of academia. We love education, but we don't love the part about it that makes you kinda delete certain parts of yourself, and when you were explaining the elitism, I was like, "Yeah, I hate that too." I hate the whole, like, "Oh, I'm better than this black person because of this." No, "Oh, I don't have this certain name," or whatever. It's just like, "You guys, we have lost the plot. Can we get it together?"
And a
We
lot of
lost the
this
plot here.
the plot is
Plot is has disappeared. Like,
mhm.
and then you mentioned I also wanna talk about your Boy Scout experience. How was that in Baltimore? Like, what was y'all doing?
So, Boy Scouts was in Parkville at it was based out of this church at, like, the top of Harford Road, like, right by Putty Hill, and, it was an interesting time because, save our troops, like, support our troops. Support our
Mhm.
troops was really big when I
Yeah,
was being able to become a Boy Scout. So my father's military service meant the world to everybody. Like my father was a superhero. He already had superhero energy. Like my
yeah,
pops pull up in his Supra, like roaring away from the school. Things that took place with him and my mother made it so that my family showed up, kind of like,
yeah,
hey, pops, me figure it out. He pops ain't bright. But then like I'm sitting passenger seat, shotgun, in a car with the top down, and we just zooming down 695. I can't hate this guy for the life of me. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Get it. Oh, I'm sorry. Like my dad got a gun most days of the week. Like my dad
Okay.
a person. I'm sorry. Like he actually fights crime. I see evidence. So all of that always taking place. Like my dad would walk in the rooms like when in like it's these moments when my dad is able to be there.
Mhm.
And sorry, and his job isn't in the way. And like I just see how people like kind of straighten up in his presence. And I'm like, oh, that's real. So Boy Scouts, that like my dad set up a space for me within that where it's like, don't mess with Carrington. And then I'm also a very like creative, very attentive young man at times. So like I'm reading through the manual and there's like certain knots we're learning, and immediately I look at the lynch knot. I'm like, oh, that's wild. I don't think it's called the lynch. Like they actually the noose is
Oh,
the Boy Scouts had them. Like it's and its actual purpose is so that it makes it easier to carry things or like pull things. But
oh,
unfortunately, the things it's always the intention. It's always the intention of the tool,
yeah,
not necessarily the reality that it starts with. But it's a
yeah.
very intentional knot, and it's one that's very difficult to undo. So I was
Mhm.
on these different knots. I was learning how to start a campfire. We actually went camping. Again, I'm the only black Boy Scout. The second
Oh,
one is my younger brother. He's a part of a different age group. So Boy Scouts
okay.
was kind of like age groups like football. I'm in this that age group, and I learned how to pitch my tent. I got to
Mhm.
sleep in, my own sleeping bag. Like, we had these early morning moments where, like, the sun is rising and these late night moments where the moon is, like, lighting up the forest in a way I'd never had a consciousness for up until that moment. We're drinking bug juice. One of the homies' moms put that together with the Mountain Dew and some Kool-Aid, and I'm like, "Oh, y'all not that distant from us." They also using stamps. Like, some of the Boy Scouts are coming from poverty because
Yeah.
white folks be poor too. And like some of the Boy Scouts peoples used to be poor. Now they having better opportunities. And again, this is
Mhm.
white me. So one of my friends' moms takes to me in a way that's kind of awkward to my mom, but gives me new references. She's into Buddhism. She's into like different understandings in life. And like she takes us a blockbuster, makes a lot of grilled cheese and makes it not makes us, but I somehow end up eating grilled cheese and drinking milk. I think that's why my stomach's bulletproof today. Like it was some artisanal breads present, and
Yeah.
good cheese going. So it's like, and this is right down the street from my house. Like it's
Ooh.
a urban field. Like I got homies that's banging up off the stamps with the Kool-Aid and the oodles and noodles. And then I got a homie, the white homie, that's like got the grilled cheese, and we going to McDonald's and getting cheeseburgers with milks with the Happy Meal. I don't really want the milk, but that's what we had at the time. So
Yeah.
these early blockbuster trips, these early introductions to like having disposable income and like watching folks have a car that's like centered around the functionality versus the branding. Like folks
Yeah.
got a Subaru. This Subaru is buzzing. All wheel drive? Like, oh, y'all like that? Okay, cousin. It's like these little moments that I'm peeping in. Like I said, Boy Scouts gave me like a consciousness that struggle wasn't like something that was inherent to black realities.
Mhm.
An American experience that when you ain't got it, it's certain ways we get creative. And I was able to just learn some things out in that forest and in those different meetings about other like white folks, essentially. It's just white folks. And unfortunately, by the time we got to our teenage years, some of the realities of public school started to hit. I started to like young ladies a lot more. I started to hang out with the homies in pursuit of the young ladies. Freak parties become a thing. Some of the Boy Scout homies are not coming to the freak party. They just
They're
are
not.
not men. They're not
Mhm.
understanding this resonance. It's a different frequency we at this point.
It's the
Yeah.
frequency is here, the frequency is over there.
Like, ain't no knots to tie in here, brother.
There's no knots. Where
We
are the
undoing
knots?
things in here. We undoing things. We like we listening to like the Chris Brown "Take You Down" joints. We listening to Pretty Ricky. Like
They
we
don't
listening
know
to us.
them. Yeah.
Like Boosie is popping, Wayne is popping. We learning Wayne lyrics and reciting them
Oh,
to the
yeah.
girls. Like so,
Mm-mm.
like by that time of life, I'm more of a young black man in Baltimore. And I'm
Yeah.
becoming conscious of it, but still very what is it? Because they call one of my friends used to call me like, I don't know if eclectic compared to
Like,
my
I
peers,
that too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because these random moments.
But also, I feel like when you're a person who gets exposed to a lot when you're young, like, in a way that you get you you become more empathetic, you become more aware of things outside of yourself. So, like, I get why that experience kinda shaped, like, "Okay, I know how to work in this space, and I also know how to work in this space," and, this was, like we grew up in a time, I feel like, when things were still very, like, city centered, so, like, if you heard somebody rapping from Houston, you could tell they're from Houston. If you hear somebody rapping from Baltimore, you could tell they're rapping from Baltimore, and New York, all that type of stuff. Now it's like, now you might meet a white boy who knows all the lyrics, like, but before that was when it was like, it was really separate but equal, I guess.
This is what's funny, like, I think my elementary, middle experience was very, like, unique, and I'm sure it's similar experiences to what I had, but, like, I went to the same elementary, middle school from K through 8, so my
Okay.
teacher knew me, they knew my siblings, they knew my older cousin to some degree, and at the lunch table, all of the walls are gone, so, like, the white homie that is willing to is gonna learn the lyrics with us, and if he was from a trailer park and he wasn't disrespectful and he knew that the N word was off limits, he had the goal to be with us. And it became these things of like character, like, don't run, like honor your word. Like if you say something, stand on it type of thing. And it ain't about perfection because it's some folks got this perfect art in, real. I'm the realist. Okay, like in every situation. I likes it. So I think MySpace, I'll add that. Like we
Mm.
MySpace probably like 5th, 6th grade. So
Yeah,
even 4th. Like I had homies with MySpace pages and they were learning about like Soulja Boy or
yeah.
different artists from like the different parts of the world. And then we had LimeWire going too. So like we still in music left and right. Y'all can't get me. But LimeWire was going crazy. Like get the plain white tees going. You got Paramore going. You got like
Gang, gang, yeah.
leave your eyes at 10 million fireflies.
Yes.
You got the
I even know that I will fall for you.
like we was like until we learned and got socialized to be like,
Yeah.
nah, that's that. And I'm like, no, that's us too. Cause like before the homies started trapping and like trying to be more like what they thought Wayne was, like look like a gangbanger, get the
Mhm,
bandana, wear the flag, start
mhm.
talking like saying blood callings. Like people saying, "Ooh, ooh," I'm like, where we ain't even from the West Coast. How y'all saying so? Ooh? We heard it in the song. So we out here running around saying it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, we was just skateboarding a week ago. Like, yo, your favorite game is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. What we on?
My gosh, a throwback.
Like, we was just running a Pokemon phase, bro. We was just having the Yu-Gi-Oh duels, bro. Like,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
we just had I had Blue Eyes Dragon in the pocket ready to go. Now we gotta be trappers, drugs in my life. And I might have smelled them. Like I smelled the weed. I might have seen the effects. Like I seen folks nodding when I was
Right,
young. I didn't know
yeah,
what it meant. Didn't care to find out. But
didn't. Yeah.
sitting here and folks is like talking about, nah, well, that's on the set. That's on the set. Where are you from? What have you watched to make you be this person that I do not know? I don't recognize them.
They don't even recognize themselves, half the time. But I liked that so we're transitioning from childhood to adolescence to teenagerhood. And I saw a post that you made about how you were really depressed, like, within, like, your teen years, and I said, "That is so relatable." You talked specifically about thinking about death, and I was like, "You're tapping into something that I can't." It's like I could talk to this subject about I can talk about this subject with certain people, but I feel like the masses won't understand. And so I'll, like, help you get to, like, my understanding, which is when I was a teenager, I too thought about death. Most specifically, I would say that I was, like a passive suicidal teen, very depressed, very anxious. Didn't know what that was at the time, but, yeah, passive suicide is, like, I'm not planning to do anything, but I had a because I was like, well, if I kill myself, I'm gonna go to hell, so what if I just find a loophole? What if something just happens to me? What if I'm just not here anymore? And so, like, I related to your post, and I wanted to know if you wanted to, like, kinda go into depth with, like, what inspired you to share that, because that is a very vulnerable thing to share, but I think it's very honest and very needed, especially, in the space of, like, Black men and mental health?
I've so the biggest part for me is a consciousness because I do my best to like curate my page around a consciousness that younger people are watching.
Mm,
Sometimes it's about me because I'm an adult and y'all do your thing. But I do have
yeah,
this consciousness that like my younger cousin has gone through some things that he hasn't been able to speak to. His peers go through things they aren't able to speak to, even in terms of how they express themselves, not feeling seen, not feeling valued or heard, and it's for young ladies as well. So it's like just this consciousness that younger people tend to go through these things. These are like developmental stages of our life. Like this is character building essentially. My chuckle, I don't mean to diminish it, but it's just this consciousness of like at a certain age, we become conscious of how much we do control and how much is out of our control. And there's this discomfort in how much is out of our control. And I know in my own experience, I've been reflecting a lot more lately. Shout out to my homegirl, Destiny. She does a lot of dope stuff with literature, and I'm looking forward to her writing some books. I mean, locking in with the people and telling her story as well. But she reminds me a lot about the importance of inner child healing. And I think about inner child healing. I think about healing the teen that didn't get a voice. And sometimes I'm posting with their voice in mind. So I'm
yeah,
like, what would young Marquise want to have said to the people if he had a platform? And like, what can he say like that isn't too shadowy? What can he say that will resonate? How can I curate this message? And I was reflecting on that. 2012, the world was supposed to end. Like that was a joke on social
yeah,
media, right?
yeah,
Like, and it was like this actual feeling. It was like the 1999 of our generation, like
yeah.
1990 computers
I'm
aren't
like,
even
"Oh my god."
like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the world ending was this constant theme within my life already. When we first went into 9/11, like 9/11 took place, my father leaving right away and like having to go home early and they roll out the TV and like make sure they change the channel from the VHS set so that we can watch the news. And
yeah,
it's like these very like integrated moments. Like, our pain is communal, so our healing is as well, right? So
yeah,
I'm thinking back to this time in my life, and all of it came rushing back. Like these arguments my parents used to have that caused me to have anger issues and different mental health challenges early. Like as
yeah,
early as 6 years old, I had ideations as early as that, but didn't have a consciousness for it. Like
mhm,
I was just having a lot more emotion, and my father had to leave again. My grandmother passed. Block was sold off to Johns Hopkins.
mm,
Every house on the block was vacant. Like just wasn't it wasn't a point that I could go to. Like,
yeah,
in my mind as a kid, we were never leaving that block. So when I'm going to high school, it'd have been really dope if I could catch the bus to my grandmother's house and chill there and maybe get a ride home from somebody. That wasn't a possibility. It wasn't no plate to go pick up. It wasn't no aunt to see it with no younger cousin to give a high five. It was just, that's done. Go be something new. And go be something new in a STEM school that doesn't have space for your artistry.
yeah,
At the time I'm going into high school, 2010, we're coming off the recession. So a lot of adults are talking to me like, you got to do something important. You got to go to college. It's people that had never taken a college class telling me, you got to go to college because if you don't go to college, you ain't going to be nothing in life. I'm like, look at you being something right now. What is so
mhm,
what is so detrimental about not having that success?
yeah,
But it was that pain and trauma they went through that they're now projecting on me. So I'm carrying that weight on me. I'm like, everything I do in this school has to be perfect. I got to get these great grades. I got to
yeah,
lock it. Got to get into college. I don't even know. I haven't visited a college yet, but I know I got to
mm,
get in. I don't even know what the world of college is, but I got to get in. I got to have
yeah,
SAT. My GPA got to be on point. I can't get in no fights, even though these seniors are bullying us for no reason because I'm tall and I stand out in the crowd. I can't do certain things. I can't slap this person who's talking crazy to me like I probably could because they putting us out like at the first offense. Homies
uh,
that my middle school that were like round the way guys, but intelligent. They made it into Poly. Poly is that school in the city at the time. But they getting put out for tardiness. They getting put out for being too for skipping school. They getting put out for fights and ending up
yeah,
in Northwestern. They ended up at Reginald F. Lewis. Shout out to Reginald F. Lewis, the person. The school at the time was known for whooping people and like known for like no and it's crazy. All of the schools named after prominent black men and women had some of
mhm,
the wildest things taking place. So
mm,
Reginald F. Lewis, Frederick Douglass, it was like Northwestern, certain schools just were like ops. in our on our bus route. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. If anybody that went there, you know what school you went to. It might have been other things in place. Some of y'all was whipping us for no reason. So folks was getting put out, and like the worst thing in my mind at the time was like to get put out of this school that they told me to work so hard to get into. So everything is just like the pressure's on and the pressure's high. And
Yeah.
if you're familiar with the layout of the city, like I said, I'm coming from Northern Parkway and Hartford Road by Valentino's and having to go over west to Cold Spring and Falls Road, which is where Poly is. So at the time, Argonne Drive is shut down. So the bus route is longer,
I was about to say, how long is a bus ride?
about an hour.
Yeah.
So you finna be late some days. And the other dynamic taking place
Mhm.
is an express route where the working class folks and some of the folks, that are professional, they like, we not catching the bus with no kids. So we got
Uh,
bus passes, but you gotta pay an extra $1.19 to get on to the express bus. So if I leave out at 7 and I'm hoping to get there by 8:15 or 8 o'clock, I have to make sure that that bus isn't gonna be an express. Sometimes it's back to back express joints. I don't have the money. They put me off as I step on. Or like, don't even play with me, young man. Like I'm like, yeah. So it's like these little moments that we would have. So I had to catch a transfer bus. So I'm catching a 19 to a 33. The 19 taking me to the McDonald's on Harford Road. Then from the McDonald's to Poly. The 33 had to take the longer route to get to Poly because Argonne Drive was cut off. So that added time to my commute. So, like I'm saying, grandma's gone. My mother's depressed. So this is something I'm witnessing in real time. Like my mother wasn't drinking like that. She getting a little more comfortable drinking and like a lot more. I heard about the loss of her mother. My grandmother represented light in a way that a lot of people ain't had no consciousness of until she was gone. And like
mm,
me and my cousin was just talking about it. Like the dynamic in the family still not recovered fully, but I'm blessed and grateful to see the little things that I'm seeing take place. Like I got a younger cousin who's really locking in, making sure we get the commune, and she threw a party. She like had a birthday cake for my cousin who just turned 25, and it was so tough. Like he blowing out his candles, and I got to yell the little Twitter thing, "Cake and candles, cake and candles!" Like just all these little funny moments
yeah.
I have because like we've
Yeah,
becoming conscious of it. Like the
yeah.
the family we lost was the level of connection we lost was an intentional effort. We didn't realize the intention behind. So like grandma was doing work that a lot of people don't recognize. Grandma was intentional about keeping up with people. And I'm seeing some of my family members start to recognize that as being major. But grandma's gone, dad is deployed. My friend groups have shifted because we all in high school. I had a friend who ended up at a different school that he didn't want to be at. Was jealous of the fact that I was at Poly. We ended up having a beef for no reason. I'm navigating the new friendships at Poly. Some folks are going a different direction. Some people want to be with the weed smokers. Some people want to be, doing these other things. I'm like, I'm trying to lock in on these books. So my freshman year, I'm blessed to get a 3.9. Like I'm blessed to lock in. I'm having fun in my classes. Shout out to my world history teacher, or maybe US history teacher, Mr. Greg. It was some really dope instructors and like people that were patient with me, Mr. G, Miss Benton, like really intentional educators in that building at the time. By the time I get to my sophomore year is a little different. Like even my math teachers were lit. But by the sophomore year, I ran into some issues. Sophomore year is historically known as like the toughest year probably because sophomore year is setting you up for junior year, which is supposed to be like a cakewalk. Like you start to think about your
Okay.
colleges you're gonna apply to, and really just lock in. But sophomore year, I have algebra 2 with trig. I think I have geometry, um,
Oh,
of foundations of technology or impacts of technology class. So it's an engineering based class. I'm
mm,
taking chemistry 1. So that's my 4 joints. I think I had to take health my sophomore year instead of gym. I have German as my language because in at summer breaks, my pops was like, "You're not taking Spanish," and Imma hold him to this. He said, "You're not taking Spanish because Spanish ain't gonna be that language." I was like, "Yes, it is." But
um,
like, it was crazy. He was like, "You're not gonna take Spanish. You're gonna take German." I'm like, "You just telling me this because my brother's German?" I got a younger brother that's German. That's part of it.
mhm.
Like, why you got a German brother? But yeah, so
That happens, it happens.
overseas activities. So,
Yeah.
like I said, we up to 6, and there was one more class that slipped in my mind, but, American government, because that was the hardest one. I was taking AP American government. I'm trying to get a college credit
Oh
my
gosh,
sophomore
that
year.
AP.
So, to put all this in perspective, algebra
Yeah.
2 with trig, geometry, chemistry, German, impacts of technology, both in American government, and they're all A course honors classes. And A course is like a step below the college credit, and they're teaching them like a college class.
Mm.
I'm in college, and I don't know I'm in college my sophomore. Hour commute, um, 15 hours of homework every day.
Yeah,
Like the homework is overloading. There was some of reading books I never recognized. Like I didn't think to check in with till August. Like I'm behind the ball on everything.
yeah.
My vision gets worse, so
Oh.
I'm sitting in the back row in algebra 2 with trig. I missed most of the fundamentals at the start of the year. American government has a vocab list that I don't care about. There's folks in my class that I'm not really that comfortable with yet. I'm in a
Mhm.
more standoffish energy. Probably would have been better off if I would have opened up to some of those folks because they had some resources, and I heard some folks was going mansion parties that I could have been at. You know, some like there was a clear distinction between A course and B course. And as I say this, like Roland Park. So
Mhm.
this is the interesting part about the sections. Roland Park, some of the Charles Village families, some of the
Mhm.
folks who live in some of these well-to-do areas of Baltimore. There's a
Okay.
long history of money in Baltimore.
Mm.
And I s- like I was blessed to read Not in My Neighborhood more recently. It gives a rundown of like how Baltimore was formed with redlining, but there's some long standing money in the city. So Poly is like some people are sending their kids there because there's a lot of generations that went to Poly before it was integrated.
Mhm.
And there's also just folks that just know the history of it. Like it is a STEM school where graduates are going to MIT. Graduates will go to Johns Hopkins University and study engineering programs and Yale. I think our valedictorian went to Yale, like or MIT or something like full scholarship.
Mm.
Like, we were going to some great universities, but
Yeah.
I was still navigating coming from my grandmother's block and, like, another half of Baltimore, but I don't really know no college graduates outside of the one cousin who went to Poly. He went to
Mm.
Poly, then to Bowie, stayed in academia for the rest of his career. He's blessed in many ways, always was a reference, but there was something in my young heart that was disconnected from his path, and
Right.
I don't wanna go that way. I feel like it's too distant. And I love what he's been able to do, and I love him. Like, he's always been a great reference and resource for me throughout my journey. I just was so, like, I'm alone. And it was different things taking place that made me feel that level of isolation.
Mhm.
Grief comes in waves that hit everybody,
Yeah.
and everybody's not conscious of the ways they're being hit, but
Mm-mm.
my mother's grief on top of my own were making me, like, really start to question life. We start learning about existentialism. English is probably the 7th class. We start learning about existentialism in English 2 honors. My depression is like loaded. I can't see, so the grades are down. I'm like getting back like homework and it's telling me I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really like
Did
my
you what's going? Or is was it like a? Because I'm asking this as a person who sees for free, so I'm trying to understand how that goes.
It was weird. Like, I wasn't one who needed glasses in my mind. I might have needed them earlier, but I had, like,
Okay.
found little methods. Like, I was a squinter, so I
Oh.
didn't like, it's like, "He got chinky eyes." Like, "Nah, I just can't see, and I got allergies." And sometimes like, the eyes are red, so they get puffy, and then it's like I'm squinting to see better. So, I squinted a lot, and my younger brother would stare at the screen, so I just assumed because I didn't stare at the screen that close that I was good. And this is like I'm saying, this is just not knowing. And
Okay.
we were getting odd checkups, but I was good up until a point. By the
Mm.
time like puberty's hitting, I guess there might have been a shift. Like, and
Mhm.
I'm starting to like struggle to see the board. Like the squinting ain't hitting like it was. And the funny thing is, by this time, my freestyling at lunch that I did all through elementary, middle, and like earlier high school is like starting to kick in to be freestyles I'm writing down. And then I'm starting to write poetry. I'm writing poetry in my composition book beside the notes that I'm struggling to take. And it's just the poetry is more fun. So
Yeah.
that was the light in all of the like tumultuous situations going on. And like I said, just having those moments that winter got really cold and just a lot of different things taking place at home added to it. So I was blessed to get into counseling at that time. Like
Okay.
that was where I was able to turn a corner. Um, the friend group shift had shook me. I didn't make the basketball team. I didn't get to lock in with this girl that like I swore I was next up for because that was all that mattered to me at that time. She was mine in my mind, and she just was not going. She had her aura, you know, as they say, her aura was up. at this and in high school, and I just could not pin her down. That that I've learned how toxic that is and how relationships ain't finna make you fulfilled as I'm an adult. But I feel for that young man. So yeah, it got really cold in the house, um, and I told my mother that I was having these ideas about not being here. And like you mentioned, it manifested as like maybe if I got hit by a car, maybe if because
Right.
these religious themes that I'm not fully attached to. We're not in church every Sunday, but I had this fear of like I don't want to be on God's bad side like that. Like
Yeah.
like
And internally, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not internally, for eternity, sorry.
bro, there's a lot of
Yeah,
brain
yeah,
take place.
yeah.
I
I feel you.
don't want that
They
smoke.
yeah. Literally and figuratively.
So yeah, I end up like having these ideations, and I learned something more recently about the ways it is genetic, like these
Yeah.
epigenetic abilities. So like some of the ideations I had were reminiscent of like things that my mother told me she felt throughout her teenage years. My
Mhm.
mother was also assaulted when she was young. So
Mm.
her assault added a layer of trauma to the way she raised us. And like she had certain parameters for us that were based in fear that I would challenge. Like, why you want to know where I'm at? But she don't want nobody taking advantage of me. And I'm not always hip. And a latchkey kid means I can go from my house to the homie's house past Valentino's to the homie's house past Harvest Fair to the homie's house on these back blocks and not think to call my mother because I'm safe. I'm good. I'm hyper independent. I'm used to
Yeah.
going from 4 different houses on my grandmother block. So what's the difference when I got a bike or a skateboard and a homie that I'm walking there with?
Right.
Um, but yeah, this moment in high school doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like anything prior. I don't have a homie house to go to. At some point, I
Mhm.
was at my dad's house, so my dad's house was different than my mom's. My dad's neighborhood is like Bel Air Edison, so it's really gangbangers around at times. It's really like dirt bikes in the middle of the park, or like folks that is like I'm seeing stories on the news that's related to some killings that actually taking
Mhm.
place on streets not too far from my pop's house at. So I come in the house, I lock the door, and I don't go back out of it. And like
Yeah.
this paranoia, seeing a Trayvon Martin get murdered for wearing a hoodie, like these things where I'm like, I don't look too distant from these brothers
Mhm.
walking down the street, actually being a threat to other black men, like older black men, like feeling looking weird toward like everybody's looking at me like I'm a threat at times, and like it's the way I wanted to dress. I got the hooping sneakers on, like I got the hoodie on. I like to wear the hood because it's comfortable, but I don't realize how uncomfortable it makes other people because of their lived experience. So all of that is adding to like, damn, am I worth anything? My pop's not here. It's cold as
Mm.
the house. My mother talked to me crazy sometimes because I'm starting to look like my pops. You sound just like your father. Like these things that folks can't necessarily tune into unless they are conscious. And
Yeah.
you hurt. Only space a lot of folks have in their hurt is hurting others. So yeah, I just had came to I was like, I just feel like I'm gonna hurt myself. And like she like praying over me. And I ended up talking to a counselor in the school named Miss Blue. She helped me to get into a therapy practice not too far from my house. I started going there more consistently. And what I was so grateful for in my experience with them was they were looking at what was already present that was working, and they started to question me about the things that fell off. So they're like, "Okay, so you can't see. Did you get glasses that you need?" I was like, "Yeah, I got the glasses." It's like, "So cool. Have you talked to these teachers?" I was like, "No, I don't talk to them." "Why?" I was like, "Because, like, I don't know." So I start talking to the teachers. I start finding out about coach class. I start to build this relationship with these people who are, like, gonna help me get to the next grade. And, like, even though some of them might not like me, they didn't have to like me to help me get to the next grade. It wasn't as personal as I had made it, but everything in that pain was personal. Like,
Yeah.
and just realizing how impersonal it was like a godsend. And I was able to get a better understanding of sine, cosine, and tangent. Trigonometry wasn't as complicated like it was at
I
the start.
hate trigonometry.
I love math though. It's crazy that I was such a
I
nerd.
love too, but I'm like, they're just when we get to a certain level, I'm done. Okay, I'm clocked out.
Abstract is like,
It,
oh, I'm like, who even made this up? Hey, thoughts.
I
Like,
know, and math is like one of those things where you can like, there's a thousand ways to get to the answer, which I really respect about math, and I think that kind of overcasts over a lot of things in our life. But yeah,
if you get to that point in math, because some people don't make it to the consciousness, that is a lot of ways to get to the same
same
answer.
answer.
And just recognizing that every discipline of study is a microcosm for the whole. Like they all just piece to get, but some folks get in their ego. And it is what it is. Yeah. So having that experience, they poured into what was present. I wasn't playing basketball with my friends anymore because I didn't make the basketball team. And by
Mhm.
that time, everything is like it just feels like a hyper sense of survival. Like my mother said, so I gotta be something purposeful and I gotta go be a CEO tomorrow. So everything gotta be working toward like a clear vision. And like, if I'm not going to the NBA, I'm not gonna be playing basketball in college. What's the point of hooping around the way? I was like, so eventually they're like, breathe, brother.
Yeah. You do it for fun.
Do it for fun. I was like, nothing's fun anymore, right? How can it be fun? You're guarded this way, and you're afraid to cry about grandma, and you're afraid to cry about the house is gone, and granddad's getting sick, and you hate seeing grandfather walk around depressed because he lost his wife. And then granddad passes that next year, but I have better tools to deal with his loss.
Yeah.
So journaling becomes a big part. I joined a rec basketball team, and like that makes up for the like not being able to hoop it properly. I have just a more conscious grasp on the controllables at the time. Um, so my GPA tanks in college looks like a really distant thing. And I'm so insecure about it, but I don't open up about it. But I keep writing. And I joined this group in the school called Athletic Lyricists. And, it's really dope individuals that are in this space with me. And we write these poems, we sing these songs, we talk about our traumas, we share like things with each other and vulnerability that mirrors a lot of the vulnerability I get to show up as today. So it really was a foundational point for what it looks like to be in community with it. And I end up on a stage in school because of this group. Like I'm doing poetry in front of the whole school. I'm going to different events in the community at times and like getting my wings. I got the poetry club in school. I got the basketball rec team I play with. I'm about to start driving soon. There's a girl I'm dating at the time. Junior years, like looking solid. At the top of that year, before like fall, I guess, I found out that a friend of mine has a brain tumor. We don't really know the full weight of it. Like this is the news that a 17-year-old is getting on his way to figuring out what his life is supposed to be. Like
Mm.
it was a weird feeling because at the time she had like high school makes everybody kind of go into their own silo. Going to the school next to me, so it's like Poly and Western are right next to each other, but still, there's like she's going to work after school. She's got her own social networks, and like we lock in with each other at times, but not as much as we used to. So by the time she's sick, it's awkward. I don't want to be the guy that's just showing up because she's sick, which was really weird. But like it's thoughts that people have at times.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah.
So it's like these things that if we don't have a discussion, like more people will go down those paths. Like, oh, so like I didn't want to be that person, but I did reach out with love, and there was another friend that was closer to her at that time that showed up a lot. So I just let that space be what it was, and in my heart, I'm like praying like she's gonna get better. At times, I would get updates where it's like, oh, she's in remission. They found a medicine that's helping her. So she went off to, I think, break dance or junior prom, and I got to see her off, and it was like really cool. And we had these little moments. I think it's a fashion event at Western that we went to together, and like having these conversations about how she's been navigating, how lonely it is, how
Mhm.
changed. She gained a lot of weight because of the chemo. So
Yeah.
like she called herself the chipmunk. And I got these chip.
Uh-uh.
Hold on, you still cute. But people treat me different. Like, I bet they do, but they didn't really know you to begin with. So it is what it is.
Oh,
It
yeah.
had little moments and, she was telling me that it was a possibility that although she missed so much school because of her cancer treatments, that she would be able to go to community college. She had hopes of going to New York. She had hopes of, like, getting into fashion. She had hopes of getting into anything creative, and she was, like, a fellow Pisces. She only had 4 birthdays. She was a February 29th baby, so leap year baby. She didn't really get
Mm.
as many birthdays as everybody else, and there's just a lot of unique things about her. Junior year starts, and I am just trying to lock in. I'm trying to focus and just like this is the time to prove a point. But man, I'm insecure. Like I haven't visited any colleges. I really haven't talked to the college advisors. I don't like some of them, and I'm really like holding that against them rather than recognizing like these could be your friends. And then I'm trying to make them friends, and my SAT scores ain't hitting like I want them to. The
Mhm.
FAFSA come back and they say you getting max Pell Grant because your people's broke. I bet. But then like you ain't really hitting on these scholarships, brother. Write to these people. And I'm like, I don't want to have to write to these people. I already got all of this work to do. And like I said, my SATs wasn't hitting like I wanted them to. but they were well enough. I got into Frostburg, I got into Morgan, I got into I don't think I
Okay.
applied to MES, but, like, it was a thought at the time. I think I got into one more school, but again, by the time we start talking money, they're talking, like, loans that look like 12.5 for the first semester, and I'm like, 12.5?
Yeah.
And at the time, I also have a super like, I didn't acknowledge the power of a poverty mindset. The power
Mm.
poverty mindsets can have over people in, like, the ways it was given to me. My mother, like I grew up hanging up on bill collectors. I grew up, like, throwing mail like,
Yeah.
"On your desk, I don't know who you're talking to." Or just
Yeah.
'cause of SpongeBob just breathing to the York. Like, this was not my childhood. So, like, I don't wanna owe anybody. I didn't wanna take out a credit card. Like, I was just really
Yeah.
one of those serial, "I'm gonna be financially perfect. They're not gonna get me."
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Cause like, college, I don't care, even if you go to community college, cause that's what I did at first to save money, it's still expensive, like, it still is. Like, I'm sorry.
For saying that extra part,
Mm.
'cause
Yeah.
the story goes, for sure, like, end up, applying to CCBC Essex. I got
Mhm.
in because community college ain't pushing too many people away. I don't know what you do to get not
Yeah.
get in it, but I get in, and my community college, he has to make out a special printout for the community college folks. It's about 3 or 4 of us. It's not as shiny as College Park. It's not as shiny as Bowie and Maryland and everything else, but
It's something.
it's something, and I was grateful. They talked to me crazy though. They're like, "Don't leave money on the table. You coulda went to another school, that you take out those like, stop telling me to take out loans, brother. You're weird right now." But again, like junior year start. I mean, yeah, no, I think this is actually senior year. Tripping. Senior year starts because junior year was running through. Okay, so junior year is like the fulfillment of the poetry, hooping with the homies, getting
Yeah.
friends, starting to feel like myself again. I actually went to Germany the summer before junior year. So that was like a lot of these things that were like, "Oh, this is what I want my adult life to look like."
Mm.
Germany at 16, I come back and I'm teaching at I'm a mentor at a rec that I didn't wanna go to. Like, YouthWorks was a program, and it still is a program, but when I was in YouthWorks at the time, I was able to work for, the police department in, like, the filing space because of my dad's connections and just family connection. We're just filing papers and striding papers and just doing menial tasks that the OGs didn't wanna do. Like, this is my
Yeah.
early introduction to, like, getting a job and, like, being there for 40 years, and at some point, you just pushing paper. But, as long as you don't disrupt the office dynamics, you can stay. Just don't be
Yeah.
weeding off.
Right.
The OGs got dust on the family photos at this point, but they looking out and they love us. So, I was used to that and it was air conditioning. I went to work in a button up, came out and went into the air conditioned car or the air conditioned bus. Like life
Mhm.
was good. This summer wasn't that. They said go outside and be with the kids at the McKim Center. And some of them are coming from the project, some of them coming from different parts of the city, whereas like a family member might be on some substances, like they might be living with a grandparent, they're coming from a disadvantaged position. And we were able to have fun that summer, but it was my earliest introduction to, like, having a tougher start and, like,
Mhm.
ways you have to learn to navigate that. It's like, I've had these moments of struggle in my experience because of being adjacent to it, and I had these secondhand traumas. I was blessed to have a village that was filling in them gaps.
Yeah.
High school was my first recognition of how I didn't like, losing a village was what high school was. Like, "Oh, I don't have that auntie to access. I don't have that homie to access. I don't have these second spaces. Like, I don't trust these third spaces. Like, I don't know this library like the one I by my mother house. I don't know, so Imma just be in the house."
Yeah.
In that moment in my junior year was like, I love helping kids. I love helping people. And that inspired the way I write. And like I said, the homegirl getting the news about the cancer at the like top of I think 2013 and then senior year starting, wow. Found out the homie has cancer. My grandfather passes away. I'm navigating this feeling like I gotta go do something of value. Everybody's starting to talk to me about college, but not really knowing how to help me because the only
Yeah.
person who went was this cousin who went to Bowie. We talked a little bit, but I'm shy. And most of my family members, a lot of us had that same experience. Like, how do I talk to him? Like, what do we talk about? He's
Yeah.
done it. He's perfect based on how all the other family members that just got working class jobs or no job at all and getting them snaps. Like, they be like, "Oh, 'cause he's perfect." I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I'm perfect." And it was wild to navigate. Junior year starts, we start walking down toward Christmas. My brother and sister are, like, soon to be in school. I think I'm about to start senior year starts, I'm sorry. Senior year starts. I'm actually driving. My siblings are in school with me. They're 3 years younger than me. So I actually got a tangible responsibility. We're driving to school. They don't have to catch the bus. I'm so hyped to be able to drive them to school.
Nice.
Like, I'm still late, but we driving now. My 2 of my younger cousins, well, one of my younger cousins is with me. So I got my brother and sister and my younger cousin, and we on our way to school every day, locked in, having fun, bumping all the newest music. And I got these different things that I'm starting to lock in with. My friend finds out she only has a couple weeks to live.
Mm,
Before Christmas, she passes. Years, all of the things that senior year is gonna be. Like, and that's on top of it. All I know is I'm supposed to graduate. I don't really know how to grieve her loss. Like, when I get the news, I'm crying, like pouring out tears in front of my cousins. I'm like apologizing to them, like, you don't gotta apologize. And I was like, these are my god cousins, and I'm just like, I feel weird right now. Like, we've never been this vulnerable. And we had for my grandmother, but it was like just a hurt that I didn't understand yet. Like, I was like, damn, I loved her. Like, I loved her as a friend. I loved
yeah.
her energy.
Her spirit, everything.
Like, there was a vision that we had for adulthood that she's not gonna be a part of in a way that I hope. Like, even
Yeah,
the last conversations with her were hopeful. It wasn't like she was telling me, like, no, like, she wasn't pessimistic. She was in this
yeah,
bag of, like, "I'm gonna get better," and I was attached to that. Like, I
yeah.
could see her going to CCBC in January a year before we started. Like, starting in the spring semester because and it's like, she's gone. I'm grateful for being able to visit her before she passed and, like, having different moments with our family. Her grandmother was like I hung out with her one day when her grandmother was present, and it was just a really comforting space to just see people that raised her be open to her friends and just different folks in Baltimore because she was from Jersey. Most of her
Mhm,
people from Jersey, had just been a part of her life in that way. When she passed, like, it just got really weird. I wrote a poem for her funeral, and it was just this again, like, that's what my artistry was always centered in. My artistry was centered in this consciousness of, like, service and just a lot of other random things, like a lot of folks passing, watching, knowing about murders taking place, adding to this discomfort. I had tools this time, so I
mhm,
talked to folks about it. I was able to write about it. I was able to transmute a lot of it, but there was a part that was lingering that I didn't have a consciousness for. I leaned into this friend that me and her had together, and we ended up having some better bonds to be able to navigate it too. The rest of senior year after winter break was prepping for prom, prepping for graduation. I
yeah,
went to my prom and a girl at Western's prom. So it was a really busy prom season. I was grateful for like um, graduating on time, that was a struggle because I was late a lot, so they ended up, like, making me have to go to some extra detentions and do some community service and a lot of different things, but we worked it out. I was able to get my, poly diploma because that means a lot to people. Poly diploma with, 8 course, classes or something like that, but yeah, navigating that toward the end of high school was weird, and then community college starts, and, the summer before community college was full of all the things that it could be. I celebrate graduating, but I had this weird moment with my friends that makes me really embarrassed, and, like, it was my first time getting drunk and first time being high, so,
mhm,
like, we went and we smoked and we were drinking the Henny and, like,
yeah,
yeah, started strong, and this is
mm,
this was legal because we 18, but this is the dynamics, that I was never too distant from substances, like, coming up. The first time I even seen, like, somebody, like, engaging with something before they were able to is, like, early middle school, friends going into the corner store and the OG not even OG, the clerk giving them by Black& and Mild and, like, maybe getting a cigarette, what they call it, a fug, maybe getting a cigarette off of, like, a older person who might be, on substances,
yeah,
just random moments of seeing friends do that, and having my own boundaries. Like, I learned boundaries early, like, I'm good on that, but knowing that it was accessible was weird, so, we graduate, and some of my friends had already started to find their own little world with weed, and, like, girls,
mhm,
they were attached in our minds, like, "Yo, we get the weed, we get the Drink,
Mm,
the coolest present, we gonna have vibes. So, I was always the introspective homie. I'm always in my head. I'm super paranoid because 'cause I'm the one who drives. So, my biggest fear is getting pulled over, killed, pulled
yeah.
over because pulled over and arrested in my mother
Mhm.
car because it's mommy car. Like, I'm bipping, but this ain't my whip. So, I'm just always Mr. Um,
Okay.
so I'm always ruining the vibes like, "Yo, you ain't got that in the car, do you?" Like, I'm that guy and like, "Don't," and I just don't like it, and it ends up, I think this paranoia that I'm feeling and this anxiety builds up to this point of, like, just paralysis to some degree. This is it got so weird that, like, I went home that I got slept o off that night and didn't wanna talk to them for, like, the rest of the summer. Like, it was really a weird night for me. So then community college starts, and in my mind, I'm just gonna rewrite my narrative. Like I'm gonna start fresh. I'm like, I don't sorry y'all, I love y'all, but I need some new realities. The homegirl died of cancer. I was tripping out on off the drinking, some weed. I'm just not trying to be that guy.
Mhm.
I just want to find success in any way I can. This community college moment feels like a second chance. I bust up my first semester and end up in the honors program at CCBC. I think I got a 4.0 GPA. They were telling me that I got a clear transfer after I graduate with my general studies degree. I was working on campus and a mentor. So I
Nice.
was to first year college students.
Mhm.
Mentor Antoine Tom Antoine. But Antoine Tomlin, he was really instrumental in like me getting comfortable on the campus. Doctor, he got his PhD since he's became my mentor many years ago, and somebody I'm very proud of and grateful for. And a lot of other professors on campus, Dr. Rudham, she introduced me to Ta-Nehisi Coates, D. Watkins. She introduced me to some earlier concepts like bell hooks,
Mhm.
and just made us conscious of different literature that could expand our perspective. I'm reading on my own. I'm seeking out like Miseducation of the Negro. I'm rereading
Mhm.
autobiography of Malcolm X, working at the library. Like it's barely ambitious, really like lock in.
Everything's coming aligned for you. Yeah.
Was. I'm meditating a little bit. I don't even fully understand meditation. Sitting up against the wall, like I'm gonna be perfect. I'm gonna be perfect becomes the issue. But I don't know that's a problem. In my mind, perfection is what's gonna cure all of this. Just don't
Mhm.
fall off track. I also want to be a musician really
Mhm.
bad. So I'm starting to have these mixtape dreams and like getting signed. I got a homie who's at Morgan. He's in an engineering program and he's living off of he's down there by the hip hop chicken on Harvard Road. So like we
Mhm.
link up and from time to time and like we dodging folks when we walk in this crib, but life be life and we make these little raps when we can. I mean, I'm learning early skills of production. At some point, that kind of becomes a space of escape.
Yeah.
And I lean on the escape when things get tumultuous in the second semester. The second semester really reminds me of my sophomore year of poly. It's only
Mhm.
the first year. So 2014 to 2015. The second semester starts. I get promoted at the library because I was harassed slightly by a supervisor. I was
Oh,
working with some totes and like packing these totes. I got harassed and then I was able to make it to a clerk desk at the library. Really,
okay.
really funny story. But, God works in special ways.
Okay, I was about to say, a win is a win, I guess.
So I'm a clerk at the library now. I think I got a promotion and just got a raise at my job on the campus, so that helped. I'm a more intentional mentor now, like as other things in my role as a mentor, and we're planning to go to Kentucky for the White Privilege Conference. Yeah,
Kentucky?
Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. And
Hmm.
so 2015. 2015 is a lot of things when people hear that number.
Yeah.
15, Freddie Gray is murdered. 2015, Baltimore uprising. I'm calling the uprising intentionally. Baltimore uprising. 15 is um just like this feeling that we going to war to some degree in my mind.
Yeah.
Prior to anything even happening, like 2015 just start with this like in the air. I'm like,
Energy. Yeah.
and, like, pronouns have been introduced, and, like, people are getting on me for not knowing them, and, like, there's consciousness of intersections. Like, oh,
Mhm.
the black woman's experience, the fact that she's a woman and black is something that I have to be conscious of in these moments.
Yeah.
I actually take a class at CCBC centered around American pluralism, being conscious of the ways our intersections are impacting our oppression, and being empathetic and just, again, conscious of LGBTQ experiences,
Yeah.
women's experiences, xenophobia. Like I didn't even know
Mhm.
xenophobia was a thing, and like I'm having Asian classmates give me just descriptions of their experience. I'm like, damn, like and I didn't have to take this class, but I wanted to, and people, like, were advising me not to stay. They was like, "Why would you take" like, "Because I'm just genuinely curious."
'Cause you want to learn?
And this is before performative mail. Like, if before any of the, like, "Oh, I read bell hooks for," like, I just
Oh
genuinely
gosh, yeah, 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 and that's the only book y'all read, huh?
got a lot of other books and speeches as well, and just conversations,
All the other authors, just saying. But yeah, I get what you mean, you just wanted to learn something outside of yourself. Yeah.
that part. So, end up in that class is the only man, and then I'm
Mm,
the only black man. Yeah, only black man, white man who was gay, and
yeah,
we had some, like, we all had great conversations up until the uprising. Like, it was a really
yeah.
good, tight-knit vibe for me up until the uprising. So,
I've
I'm
gotten
also
a couple of yeah,
yeah, freshman year, I had an English 2 class, and we started to talk about, like, just consciousness around media literacy.
yeah.
So, I was the only black kid in it, and, like,
Mhm.
in Essex with folks who coming from Perry Hall, coming from, like, these different schools where I'm like, "Oh, y'all people's own farms. Y'all got crackhead family members too," and like you said, excuse crackhead, but y'all got some family members on the stamps too,
They do.
and y'all don't even acknowledge them. Y'all act like they don't exist. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so I'm learning and, like, and all these folks, this little class full of white folks, and we having conversations about Fox News, and there certain things aren't clicking, and, like, I'm contentious because I feel like I'm the only voice in here, but I'm
Mhm.
blessed to have, again, conscious at this moment of, like, the need for support and community. So I had a whole group of brothers that I would just unpack these moments with. Also,
Yes.
high level math classes. I came into college hoping that I could actually try the art path that I was hoping for. Like, I'm gonna be a writer. I'll be in do communication. They're still, like, trying to unchain themselves from the realities of the recession. Recession
Mhm.
2008. In 2014, they're still talking like, "Don't do a degree that doesn't make money." Degrees that don't make money are sociology, political science, English, communications, anything in the liberal arts is a waste of time, and we see why we need the liberal arts. As people have awful discussions on podcasts, everybody thinks they're a master orator because they bought the most expensive mic and they have the most high quality video production, but the worst takes possible.
Yeah.
They're not journalists. They're not professional communicators. They're not, like, media literate. They're just loud voices and often sex crazed and just underdeveloped. It's just clear
Very
idiocracy.
limited, yeah.
So all of my counselors at the time are like, lean into this high math placement score.
Okay.
So I'm taking pre-calc and then calculus that year. And then I'm working up to Calc 2 and computer engineering. But I'm
Mhm.
taking these liberal arts classes like American pluralism. So I'm
Mhm.
taking a liberal arts background. Like, the other classes underneath the STEM are classes that are as requiring just as much,
Mhm.
but I don't really need them. But I'm loving them. Like, I'm loving the Socratic seminar. I'm loving going home and reading the article, but it's hard to read the article when I also have to do, prep for a test on, integrals. I had to
Yeah.
prep for tests on like, integrals is crazy in calculus. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
made it past the trig. Like, oh, that's how to sine and cosine. That's why I was learning sine, cosine, and tangent because there's gonna be arctan and arc sine, and then, oh, this is, and I was having fun, but I'm like, I'm also having these really high level conversations about
Yeah.
intersection and that my masculinity is a problem in these certain ways, and, like, I'm accepting of it. Like, I'm going home and like, damn, I never looked at my mother's experience. Like, sometimes I'm pointing at my mother and blaming her for things she actually had no control over.
Yeah.
And a welfare queen is a media concept they came up with. Like, there was an intentional program to remove black men from the home, and, like,
Yep.
there, all of these things are becoming aware, like, conscious of me. Freddie Gray is murdered. Conversations start to shift. I go to Louisville, Kentucky. Conversations are shifting.
Mm.
People are more empathetic with Native American issues than they are with Black American issues. They're even less empathetic with Black American male issues. Everything Black American males are gonna do is their fault. I'm walking through Louisville, Kentucky, exiting a white privilege conference. And to give context, the white privilege conference was about making people aware of intersectionality, aware of the privileges of whiteness, and finding strategies so that we can go back into our homes and our communities and offer strategies to help us undo microaggressions and, like, to assault, like, have a active assault against this system and structure. But I'm moving through Louisville, I'm seeing people step over homeless black men. I'm seeing like folks having so much money because there's big basketball down there, and Muhammad Ali's museum is down there, and it's these different things. But I'm on the outskirts, like damn, it look like the 1950s in some of these brick homes, and it's a clear delineation after these train tracks.
Mhm.
Y'all the northernmost southern city, but y'all still feel like y'all missing a lot of consciousness. Scared, I don't like it. So that made me more grateful for Baltimore, as much as they talk crazy about it.
Yeah.
So I end up, like I said, coming back, and Freddie Gray's death did something to me and a lot of my friends. It was like a cousin. It was like
Uh,
I have cousins who will be on the street like he was. I have
Y'all know a Freddie Gray, you know what I'm saying?
And I
Uh,
was outside in August, that probably August for Mike Brown. So this added another
mhm,
layer of like, I was just outside about a black man being killed for no reason. And it
mm,
wasn't in my city, but we were on the street with the signs like wanting to get active. And I just started to be conscious and like moving through communal spaces with it. Like I'm just trying to connect. He was murdered. It was like it's irritating. I didn't want to go out I was afraid to go to the protests at times because I understood the ways that they were inciting violence. Like it wasn't us. It was folks that it wasn't black folks. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
they're trying to like harm us. It is actively like I think the day it happened, it was folks that came down from Boston to see the
oh,
Orioles against the Red Sox or something. And they were talking crazy to the crowd. And they would thought, Boston is hella racist. Their present is folks from around the way. The cousins from down the way are not going for that. Not
yeah.
a little bit. We don't do the disrespect. So it's like you spit on me, you might get choked out, and we can settle up the charges later. You might get slapped. You
You
might
might get popped.
tooth is broken. I'm sorry. Ain't no respectability on this. We going to blows about this. So that's what ended up happening. And I came to school that next day, and the professor asked, "Did we want to talk about it?" Like you done led discussions on everything you could imagine. You led discussions on homophobia. You led discussions on the issues black women face slightly. I appreciate you for that. You led discussions on some black male experiences. That was cool. You asked if we want to talk about it. I have more empathy to understand that like everybody doesn't process emotions the same, and that sometimes um there does have to be a little bit of a breathing period. But it was
Mhm.
so home that I was like, you got to say something. Like you could at least give us some hope in this moment. Do y'all want to talk about it, or y'all want to lock in on the work that y'all already got complete so y'all can finish the class? I was like, we just have a moment of silence. Like, you have a day of rest. That wasn't a consciousness in her cultural experience. And I had another classmate who was of an Asian background, and she said, I didn't get to go to work. I was like, motherfucker, you've been talking about how you hate your job all semester. Like I was really, it was a white girl who also said, it's like, I also didn't get to go. And like, I just don't understand why they're doing all that. I was like, I hope you never had to find out and then stop Asian hate. But it's like these things that other cultural groups will experience later on to maybe get them empathy, but they still don't have it because then it'll be like black people are the reason for Asian hate. And I'm like, black people are the reason for Asian hate when y'all were put in internment camps for the way you look? And like,
And a lot of the civil rights that were brought up again or brought from us, from our community, helped other communities. But unfortunately, some people aren't educated on that, and so they just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what type of programming they get in their communities, but it's working. And I see like now, like there are younger generations, there are some people who are like trying to step outside of that ignorance, but I think a large part of it is the fact that there's anti-blackness and across the globe. So, that's a different conversation for a different day. But I think that has something to do with it as well.
so we ended up not talking about it.
Yeah.
I ended up hating the class. I left early and ended up dropping the class. That was
Okay.
my statement. And it was just, all right, somehow I end up having these moments at times where it's like my passion has taken me off track and made me do something that people completely disagree with. But it was just like, I wanted to yell at them. I wanted to crash out in a worse way than that. So I was like, I just don't want to be present for that because I would have called her all types of names. I'd have done things that my emotions wouldn't have been able to like I would have made decisions that would have hurt my life even more than just getting a bad grade. Blessed
Mhm.
to have a mentor that was in the English department to some degree to help me to get because it was a paired class, it was English with American pluralism. So I ended up being able to salvage my English grade, but I took I don't think I was even able to withdraw, just a D for that class that semester. Crashed out my GPA, and the next semester I ended up like, after that summer, I had some moments outside. They were slightly connected to different things going on in the scene, and started learning things about some of the people on the scene that had become new celebrities, and sexual assaults that were taking place, and, like, people
Oh,
being egotistic outside, and
mhm,
that was disheartening. So by the time I'm coming back into the that fall semester of 2015, just a little jaded, a lot more jaded, slightly feeling that depression come to me again. So it was
mhm,
like this discomfort. I'm not trusting community because the new community that I've started was like some folks that I felt were weird. I also had some folks that are in position that could help me, but I don't want to be needy.
yeah,
And I started taking some classes that resonate more with my artistry. I take a audio recording class I really enjoyed. I take some sociology classes, a communications class. Like I'm like taking in like some business courses, and just all the classes they tell you are irrelevant. You know,
mm,
that telling me at that time were irrelevant. But I was disconnected. I had left my job because of some of the transitions. So that made it weird too. And I ended up taking on a job somewhere else that I didn't really need to be at. I'm leaning into the music and this spirituality that I'm not really fully learned about. So I'm just like playing around with the third eye idea, Christ consciousness, meditating around that, starting to lose track of some things. Again, like it feels depressive. My mom's is also going through some things at the time. And that winter, I end up going to a party with a friend. And then Christmas break, I go to a party with a friend and I try to do the thing that I never do in hopes of, relaxing, like going smoke and drink at a party. And it didn't work again. But this
mhm,
time I end up having a manic schizophrenic episode. That becomes the catalyst for most of the healing work I do throughout my 20s. Everything up until that point culminates into this schizophrenic episode where, like, different people have given me an idea that it could be like spiritual awakening and these different things, but it was just deeply uncomfortable. Everything's overly bright. Everything is super sensitive. I'm hearing things that aren't present. People that
mm,
all my life are saying things to me that I've never expected them to say, but they're not pushing up on me. It's just these things being said, and I'm just like, ugh.
yeah,
And my reaction is to run. I'm not actually being harmed, but I'm just really afraid. I'm looking in the mirror, seeing doubles is like really wild. I end up somewhere in Maryland, and the police are called, and just a lot of things take place in that space, like
uh-huh,
trespassing charge, a probationary period in my life, like these very could be life defining moments that I'm blessed to have people that help me navigate. Again, give me a consciousness and like a foundation for the work. I can't separate myself from a consciousness for mental health. Even if I go do something that's completely unrelated, I'm always thinking of how are people's mindsets, how are people internally, because I don't care how much money you get. I don't care how high your status is because of how you appear to other folks. If what's going on inside is disconnected from that, there are a lot of ways this can go that don't serve the individual or the people around him. So yeah, that really set a tone. And I've, like I said, just been blessed to have a lot of tools that came along through that process. Psychologists, therapists, eventually
mhm,
yoga, learning the
mhm.
importance of sound healing, learning the importance of diet, learning the importance of intentional community, boundaries, and having these different moments where I kind of fall off track, but get back to it. Um,
So, like, how has, become an author take us through that journey, to that process.
the
I
books
like it.
really became that. Yeah, the books became like a space of, okay, I'm going to start to give insight to why. And the second book was interesting. It's an interesting journey. The Birth of the Yogi came out probably, oh, when did it come out? I feel like May of 2023. But I released it on Amazon and I felt like I had it out for some time. But my stepmother's passing was one of many things that I was transitioning through in 2023. I got in a lot of ways, sometimes that's why I said God is such a intentional force within the details.
Mhm,
In high school, I felt like when I think about and thought about my friend's passing, I felt like I went through that depression. I had those ideations and I had the therapy and counseling situation and all of these new tools to navigate the loss of the friend.
Mm,
at the end of high school. I felt like I had all of those moments at that school, and I was blessed to have the yoga journey so I could navigate the loss of my stepmother that next year. And, like,
mhm,
it happened so quick. It was like I just graduated in October from my yoga teacher training, and I was
mhm,
ready to run outside. Like, I'm walking around with the guitar on my back and barely play it. Like, I'm just talking to people in the neighborhood. I'm starting to wear the beat that signifies the Charm City Bipper. I'm saying, "Be love, love, Baltimore." I'm like, "We gonna be positive out here." I'm a yogi. I've been teaching in the schools. I see what's not there. Imma be what's there. Imma be what y'all need in there and out here. And hurdles start showing up. More hurdles. And life was lifing. I left my mother's house because of some things that were taking place in our arguments, that
mm,
I was no longer able to go for, and we both needed that. I was living with an aunt for a little bit, lived with an uncle for a little bit, was still teaching in the school, but it was weird. That summer was weird because I left my mother's house unexpectedly, like, it was based on an
mhm,
argument that I left. So, I ended up outside living off credit cards because I didn't want a summer job. I wanted to just navigate that grief and also
mm,
had stipends and different things taking place. Like, I was blessed to be a part of a fellowship at Morgan. I was studying some Black women's literature. We were reading, some Alice Walker, uh, books and reading about, um a lot of abolitionist work, deeper stories about Harriet Tubman, getting conscious of Harriet Tubman having a husband who told her no, and like saying, I'm going out
mhm.
there. I'm going to do something. I'm on business. So she divorced her husband, went outside anyway, and had a lot of moments in her life that we don't always speak on. Like she
Yeah,
well into, at least she made it to her 90s or the,
90s, yeah, almost a I don't know. I do know night she lived for a very long time.
mhm,
For a very long
mhm.
there's even pictures of her, like, as she's, like, aging.
Mhm, and she was up in upstate New York with a piece of land where she had a apple orchard and a orphanage and a
Mhm.
space for the elderly, and I'm like, "Yeah, I wanna," and I still got that in the back of my mind, finna dip up there one of these days, visit.
You better dip up there.
So it's like these things that were taking place, like I'm falling out with my mother as I'm in a program studying the struggles that Black women go through.
Mhm,
Like it's, and I'm growing a deeper relationship with my stepmother throughout this process. My stepmother is telling me to give her grace and acknowledging the struggle she had with her own mother. And we start to connect on the fact that she has her business and I'm very entrepreneurial at this point. My mother's also entrepreneurial. So it's like I have complete deference for her when I'm like, I wouldn't be this loud person who always giving advice because she used to give advice while she braiding as tight as she can to keep that weave in for as long as it can be in there. Like I used to over my mother's like a lot of my personality. So when
mhm.
people would say like Bip is sassy, I was in the hair salon. Like I watched sassy. Like what are y'all talking like? And that's not a bad thing. Like and how is it even sassy? Like
I people just be I don't know. I don't know what's going
yeah, but when I sat with when I have such a 360 view at times because I had,
Mhm,
like I said, I had the white homies, I got the down the hill homies, I got the preppy homies, I got the homies out in the county that I'm not holding the fact that they in the county playing like they from the city against them. I'm like, yeah, your grandmother gave you that Honda coupe, and you be buying these Dutches and breaking them down, and you be breaking the weed down like you from round the way. No, you do your thing, but like don't play like you really from that because you don't have to. Like I like the fact that you went to summer programs all throughout your childhood, and that your pops is an ex hooper. Like that's beautiful. Like lean
mhm.
into that. Like you just be at random Ravens games. You ain't had a bread. You know people in there. Like stop playing like you from something. It's not cool to be from something sometimes, man.
People do that, like, in Fiji as well. It's like, "Sir, you grew up in a five-bedroom house. You
In the TZ story, shout out to the kid, Pretty Girl County. Them boys be out there be, be the guys. I'm like, all right,
I'm
champ.
like,
And that's what they
"What?"
call him. Champion, champion, champion. That's what they say. They say
Oh
the
my gosh. I don't say champ, but yes, they do. Ah.
champion.
No, no, literally, it's just like you said, it's okay not to be from anything. It's okay to not be I mean, that does just because you're from the suburbs doesn't mean you don't struggle, but you not whatever you're trying to portray, you're not that. But
Authenticity means everything at the
yeah,
bottom. And
yeah.
like, I wish they could just connect with that because what they miss is I have ultimate respect for the sacrifices that parents made for them to be in a five room, five, like, you got your living room and dining room are separate. They got distance,
You got
like
a base.
with a pool table, and like you, you know celebrities. Like you was down the street from Genuine because like that's how the the DC metro area work. Like y'all be that close to Tank. Like okay, all right, bet. Like you had an internship with Pharrell just cause like that's beautiful.
That
Leaving
is
and honest about how it was given to you. Poor like that's why on the panel I kind of got so agitated because I was like I was having this moment of every black person is had to be creative. The
yep.
reason we're here today is because of creativity and ingenuity. It's taking
Mhm.
a peanut and finding 1,000 ways to use it. It's taking a hot, like a piece of metal and saying, "I'm gonna straighten hair with this," and then starting a new industry. And Madam C.J. Walker becoming the first black millionaire, like
Mhm.
first documented. Is like, and there's so many inventions we don't even get to talk about in between that we're responsible for. So it's such a blessing when I witness folks who honor all of it rather than like wanting to like we said portray a image and or just be so ashamed of it that they
Yeah.
lead us and look down on it and don't want to be associated with it, which is another trauma response. Yeah,
I have some hot questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Number 1, name your top 5 coping mechanisms that you have in your tool belt today.
Ooh, more recently, I've been intentional about platonic romance. Community is my conscience of community is expanding to like be more intentional about my friendships, especially in adulting, because like there's friendships are work, relationships are work, and the work that they require makes space for the peace that they can be. So I'm really intentional about communicating with folks and therapy is like and like a lot of my relationships start to become an extension of my therapy. So the good moments I have in therapy, I'm able to start to use those conversational and communication skills and even be conscious of like things I don't need to tell everybody. Like I get very vulnerable and it's always from a place of love and I'm like conscious of all that can come back to me because of it. In my personal like close spaces, I mean have a very intentional consciousness that's been helping me cope. Curating my space. When I first started to stay with my pops, it was kind of weird. Like the house froze the day she passed. Like,
Mhm.
is papers that you don't think about. It's closets with things in them that, like, we'll get to that one day, and the one day is gone. So I moved into the bedroom that I had in high school, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to change anything in it at first. I was just like, I'll move certain things around, but I want to disturb the stuff that started to enter the room. So I started to disturb that, started to take things to Goodwill and like this local giving table in West Baltimore. Shout out to Ulysses Archie and the Irvington community. They do a giving table with like organic food and introduce folks to like, let me see, like, what's one random that I saw on the table today? Quinoa.
I knew you was about to say quinoa. I was like, "Is it avocado or quinoa?"
Like, cranberry quinoa and like a tofu egg salad. It's just like these stuff is like, what's that about? Or like goat milk or just different things that folks won't really pick up in a store. But it's also like a space where I take clothes or I take old appliances and stuff from
Mhm.
grandma's house is starting to show up there. So like I'm really grateful for that space and just this consciousness of how connected we are. Every time I take something there, I come back like maybe a day later or a week later and it's gone. Or somebody come back like, "Oh, you brought that? Thanks for that." So that's
Yeah.
another way of coping. But just around curating the space, candles, artwork. Like I got
Yeah,
artwork
artwork
freakers,
now. Yeah.
instruments, like being intentional about the speaker setup. Like is a speaker that I can access in every room to play the music I want to play, Chromecast on the TV to cast stuff. Just little things that have been really important to me making sure that's present. Third thing is staying centered in the practice. Definitely, like she passed on a Friday morning. By Monday, I'm back to doing my asanas and meditating. Like
Mhm.
yoga had been something that I learned in a season of like, I'm leaning on this to cope with the fact that it's hard at work. I never give people, I do my best. At some point, I probably did, but I do my best to not give people a nine to fives or hustle mentality grief about that reality because it's a survival mechanism. Like we have to have these jobs. I'm just big on find a nine to five that doesn't make you want to harm somebody. Find a nine
Mhm.
to five that leaves space for your children. Find a nine to five that leaves space for community. And yoga really helped me navigate that. So I like didn't want to make money from it for a while. And
Mm.
I was teaching virtually through a tutoring company, Joy Education Foundation. Awesome nonprofit, intentional about helping kids with dyslexia and
Oh,
um
nice.
limited access to tutoring services.
Mhm.
So it's a space that's building out lesson plans and curriculum for kids that just don't have the accessibility and, black and brown babies. So my first students were like a young man named King and a young man named Mateo. Mateo's in like San Diego or like he's on the West Coast. King is in
Mhm.
I think Chicago or like just some part of the Midwest. And like the time difference doesn't stop us from having these dope moments. Mateo's telling me about his moments in karate class. King is like trying to get on a basketball team. We're reading like these books that I'm like, yeah, we locked in. So that was something of joy that I shared it on my Instagram, but I wasn't like, look at me doing this thing. It was something that I had to myself. So that's
Right.
also a thing I definitely use for coping, having these like good deed spaces or just good energy
Mhm.
space
Yeah, you're mentoring.
where I don't have to like open it up to everybody. So yoga, mindfulness, breath work. I haven't meditated in a while, but this morning I was like, I'm gonna sit and meditate and just breathe for a second because I want to do more poses. Like, you know what? Let's stop. My shoulder been hurting a little bit.
Keep it cute. Yeah.
Keep it real cute. Number 4, getting in nature. My God, getting in nature is very important. Like literally touching grass, being around some trees, things that are really like way taller than me, spaces where like, that's why like I told my cousin that like,
Yeah.
look at that tree. Like we were walking through and he was like, I was like, look up. He's like, huh? Look up. And he looked up. I was like, oh. I was like, right.
Crazy.
Like, yo, like that tree is taller than buildings. And it's like just it's living. Like it's not like
They're just intertwined and doing their own thing.
watching the water and walks, just
Hear the sounds.
very neat. Like, I enjoy the run clubs, but I enjoy walking. Sometimes I had a capacity to run some days, and I'd be like, "You know what? I want a bop. Like, I want a cool bop and a talk. I don't wanna run with y'all today." The clubs, though. Shout out to the neighborhood runners. Shout out to the Blazers. Shout out to Harbor East Run Club. I'm loving it. I'm just
Mm,
very conscious because, like, it was funny. One of the days I went to the run club joint, I went to Block Blazers, and one of my guys had a back issue and talking about it. He was walking because his back was hurting. But he
mhm.
got into running, and it was a gym mentality, whereas like, "Eat, eat, eat." Like, get busy. Like, I know brothers who eat, like, rip their skin open doing
Mm,
pull-up. Like, we were really locking in. The pain is irrelevant when you hit that mode,
mm.
but the recovery looks nasty. Like,
Yeah.
peeled my skin the other day doing muscle ups, and I haven't been back on the bar for like 3 weeks because I'm
Mhm.
waiting for the skin to heal. I'm, like, being conscious, maybe need some dust on the hands, maybe get the gloves again, but I love the fact that we're back in the movement, but I want people to be cognizant, like, these injuries will sit you down, and
Yeah.
the depression that an injury can cause when you lose mobility is different.
Yeah.
Got a homegirl tore her Achilles. She said it snapped like Velcro. She ain't even over 27. So to have an injury like that ain't right.
Yeah.
And like I'm seeing folks, I'm like, are y'all even stretching? And like the stretching we doing is cool, but like some folks don't have a history of stretching. So a dynamic stretch before some real heavy activity, some of these folks you can't warm them muscles up well
Mm,
enough. You
mm.
pull a one of them L's, one of them CLs, the ACL, the TCL, the MCL, you pull one of them
Somebody.
and
Mhm.
I tweaked my knee the other day. I said, I'm walking. I'm good. And like started to feel a little my body was like, you can do it. I was like, nah, we gonna
No, we're good. We can
so I love so but Saturday, I've been doing Saturday morning yoga at Lake Montebello. 9
yes.
AM. Been consistent with that as best I can be. And I've made every Saturday since mid-July. So I'll be out there this Saturday, God willing, no rain. Looking to get inside with it at some point. It's all about partnering with somebody I feel safe with and I can be consistent with. I don't wanna be just anywhere. And it's never personal, but it does get personal. Like I really wanna have a strong bond. And that's something I'm working my way up to because it comes back to trust. Yoga
Mhm.
is a very delicate space, very spiritual space. There's a trust that people start to form with their instructor that
Yeah.
you have to be really intentional about navigating. Yeah, all of
Agreed.
those things. But, the 5th way. 5th way is writing. I say
Okay.
5th
Yeah.
coping. Definitely writing. It always comes back to writing. I wrote a song this morning, and, like, last night and this morning, I completed a puzzle. I think I mentioned that,
Yep. 300 pieces, right?
100 pieces. I said, "Yeah, you
That's
did
crazy.
good
In a
work,
good
kid."
way. In a good way, like, one of my sisters, she loves puzzles, I'm just like, after a while, I'm done, but I think that's really cool, and I also, I think it helps, like, your your cognitive functions as well, like, that's what puzzles do. So, you do you're coping slash helping your brain. What's something that you tell your teenage self?
Don't try to fix anybody else. You are safe. You are enough. You're more impactful than you realize. You are already everything you think you have to become, everything you are trying to be, you already are. That's why you're trying to be it because you see it and you see it in some capacity, but you don't trust it yet. And it gets better. It gets way better. Anything you're afraid of, um, is something that you had the ability to navigate. Just continue to lean on that faith that we found early. I add this because, just to add context to, like, my childhood, my grandmother used to take us to church.
Mhm,
My first funeral, I'm 5 years old looking at my grandfather in a casket. A lot of different dynamics that took place in the family that I had no awareness of, but I just see a lot of people crying, and there's an energy in the church that just feels like it's like, something important here. I
mhm,
always would have that feeling when I went to church. And it's just a certain resonance that gospel music had with me. My grandmother would take me to church. On my father's side, it wasn't much church in my mind on my mother's side, but my mother started going to church after the divorce and just navigating that. My mother also had some spiritual consciousness, like she being the zodiacs and astrology and different things, and went down the woo woo thing a little bit. But God is still the center of all of it.
exactly, yeah.
Like, I had a children's Bible, and I enjoyed, like, stories like Joseph's story. I
Mhm,
didn't really know them fully, but I would start to resonate with them. And my grandmother always, like, would make us pray before we went to sleep at her house. Getting down on our knees and praying at the edge of the bed and reciting the 23rd Psalm in the Lord's Prayer and just
mhm,
keeping those close to me. So the biggest thing I would say to my younger self is start to understand the importance of those words. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to believe it and truly not fear the evil around us. There was so much evil around me at that age, and it's still partially present, but I'm blessed to have more communities that don't
yeah,
reflect those dynamics. So it's like I see young men in those situations. I see them coming from the communities and like I'm telling them things they can be, or like I'm reminding them of like the importance of singing. I met some young brothers at a community center the other day and like I walked in with the guitar and they were just so like, "Yo, can I play?" I was like, "Of course, yeah." So, like, I get it back and I just start strumming best part. I was like, "Oh, I know that." I was like, "You know
mhm,
what? Sing it then." "No, I ain't gonna sing it." I said, "You don't know, babe." It's like, "You know me." I was like, "Right on." I said, "Let's go." And these boys in the Nike Techs, they got the Under Armours on. They from over west, so
mhm,
they
mhm,
part of it. But they wanted to sing that. They still
yeah,
wanna sing to the shorties. They didn't know everybody don't wanna wear the shiesty, like, we was tough, but, like, it was always about getting back to the girls. Like, I don't know what's lost in this new set where it's like,
mhm,
some of these brothers don't like sisters, and that's another dynamic in and of itself, and that's not to shame folks that's closeted.
yeah,
But when we start to get more honest about our true intentions, maybe the music will reflect that. A lot of brothers like, "My brother, my slime, my slime." Like, "Yo, why you so slimy? What's going on with that brother? Why you slimy?" I'm a little confused. Slime, Imma slime you out is something they say to the shorties, but the brothers are slime too, so I'm like, "What's taking place?" There are stories coming out. Some of these brothers are bisexual, which is cool, but it's like, be that in the music so that these brothers walking these streets can start to move in the ways that are true to them.
yeah,
Why y'all hating these sisters? You know you love that girl. Stop playing. You better stop playing about your busted baby. You better stop playing about
yeah. That's
your
your cinnamon apple.
apple, your ice cream sandwich. You better stop playing, man. But yeah.
The last question is, which I think we hit it, but I do wanna, because this is, like, going back to the title of the podcast, Bloomers. Has there been a time in your life where you felt limited or delayed, and how did you get through it?
Well, like I said, the late bloomer portion, understanding the reality that like we all got different watches.
Yeah.
Sometimes like there was a point where I wanted my watch to look like my friends, and my friend expected my watch to look like theirs. There were certain things that were coming into their life that just became an expectation. Like, oh, you
Right.
graduated college, so this is what comes next. You are moving into these spaces. That's what comes next. You are able to go to these spaces. You can travel because of these things. And my process was delayed. My process was a lot more sporadic. My process had a lot of side missions, and even in my conversations, like conversation is very reminiscent of how it took place. There's a lot of tangents that it goes on. It's like, how is this all connected? I'm figuring that out as I'm getting closer to 30. So
Mhm,
I've always been grateful for the late bloomer portion. I've had this
mhm,
moment as a kid. I was like the peasy headed one for a while, and I was ashy in the face a lot. I didn't put on lotion. It was like a crep ball. That's what some of us call the over East babies. Like we was ashy, like my toe knuckles was ashy. I don't
All
care. It didn't dawn on me at the time. I was like, I don't care what nobody think. And then one day I had a crush, and like she wasn't feeling me like she was feeling, the brother that was more put together. And then, it's light skin, dark skin things and all the colorism that take place in community too. And
mhm,
I said, you know what? I ain't going for that. I ain't going out like that. Went home, found a can of Marys and a brush and a do-rag. And then waves got activated. And I got braces. Understand? I got braces. I got some lotion going. I started brushing the teeth twice a day.
mhm.
Water a lot. Started doing my push-ups in the crib. Started doing crunches. So I'm gonna have some abs as a sixth grader. Now we out here flexing to take you down by sixth and seventh grade. I feel like I mean something. And they let me know. And sometimes you're like, pull your shirt up, sure. I'm like, yeah. And we were fast. We were fast for our age, but this is what it's like to come up in the
In the
city.
area, yeah.
The
Like,
era was different. I
yeah,
had friends that were fathers before we made it to high school. So very
yeah,
16-year-olds in eighth grade. It was some very interesting dynamics. Welfare babies are different. Them Section 8 babies is different. It's
yeah.
weird.
It's different depending on where you are. I mean, I had a friend in high school who got pregnant our freshman year, so and continued having children until we graduated. So it was like, just different strokes for different folks.
Mhm.
But yeah, I appreciate like your time and everything. Where can like people find your books? Where can people do yoga with you? So where can like people find you and find your literature and connect with you?
My books are on Amazon, and I have some available if you are in the Baltimore area and you see me out. I tend to keep them in the trunk.
We'll put the link in bio.
Type of life. Our website is currently down. So I'm managing that life of
Okay.
an entrepreneur. But Amazon, Marquis Carrington. I think if you type in Charm City Bipper, it may come up as well. You can find me on Instagram at Charm City Bipper, YouTube at A Guy from a Place. I think Charm City Bipper is also accessible through YouTube, TikTok, and all of the things, all the social mediables. Lake Montebello on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. As long as the weather permits, and keep up with my page. I do my best to post a flyer. I also have a broadcast channel on my Instagram where I try to keep up with folks in the community and in the faraway places. Like I started to have friends in New York, Philly, and some folks down south right now, like folks in New Orleans and my brothers in Germany. So I'm starting to have this consciousness, like it was always bigger than me. It's always bigger than the city. Right. So Charm City Global, big bit. And
The
it's
little one.
right. It was centered in like I want the crib to be cool before I leave the crib. Like I've always hated this feeling of running from like I used to have to run as a kid because like it's five of them. I'm not finna stay for whatever y'all trying to help me with. Y'all was trying to help my job move. I ain't with all of that. So Imma just run, and at this big age and having the blessings that I've been afforded and the mentors who poured into me, I'm just like, I wanna make sure I have a stake in how the positivity came into fruition, and I've seen it. Like, I've seen a major shift. I'm grateful for it. This youth programs the mayor has instilled, the homicide rate is down. Shout out to everybody involved in changing the energy of the
Yeah,
city. Because it's always been a beautiful place. I
yeah,
just was deeply aware of the resources missing. But yeah, you can find me on those social media platforms, and you can find the books again on Amazon. The books are The Birth of the Yogi, I Met God in the Gutter, and I Speak Light Over My Life. And there's a new book on the way. It's quite a process in this newest one because of some things I learned in the prior books. And there's a different level of intention that I'm writing this one with. I'm deeply conscious of transience and gratitude and centering a consciousness of letting go because sometimes we only get a piece and the
yeah.
piece that we have is very much enough, but perspective can make it seem like I wanted more, I wanted it longer, I wanted this to be forever. So I've just been reflecting on that and finding more ways to tell some of the stories that I've been spewing all throughout this podcast.
But it's gonna connect with someone, that's what I always say. Even if it connects with one person, that's one person you don't know that it hit with, so that's good enough for me, honestly. But thank you, Marquise, for your time today, and you guys make sure to hit the description box to links to his Instagram and to the books. We'll make sure to put that in there. But thank you so much, Marquise.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.